It's Reverend Ahmondra, and this year Black women are stepping up and stepping out, heading towards success. This is our third video in our series for the Flight Plan for Life. I invite you to join me today as we look at step 4 and step 5. So before I jump into step 4, let me just quickly review. Step 1, we talked about the destination. Where is it that you want to go? Step 2, we looked at your present location. Where are you at right now in your life? In step 3, we looked at what is it that you need to take to prepare for your pre-flight checklist. And step 4 today is all about the takeoff. Step 4 is really important. This is the step where you're actually going to get in motion. You know where you're going. You know where you are right now, and you've done your pre-flight checklist. Before a plane can successfully take off the ground, there are 4 elements that are extremely important. They need to calculate the weight, the lift, the drag, and the thrust. When all 4 elements are in place, that plane can have enough momentum to lift off the ground successfully. When you are preparing your flight plan for life, a lot of times you have no idea what you need to create the momentum in your life that would have you take off into flight. We don't know what our weight, our lift, our drag, our thrust is. I didn't know what it was going to take for me to file for divorce. It took me a full year before I was able to get up enough momentum to file for divorce. And the day my ex-husband put his hands on me and became physically abusive with me was the day that I had the momentum behind me to take off. Because at that point, I had started to care more about me than I cared about what he thought about me. I had started to stand in my power. And that day, I knew I had everything I needed in place in order to step forward and take off. So in that 4th step, you might have to wait. You may not have the momentum you need to take off, but do not doubt that you will take off. So do not worry if you get to your 4th step and it feels like you're stuck. You're not stuck. You're just waiting for the momentum to gather behind you to give you that thrust so that you can take off. Step 5 is being in flight. You have to be crystal clear about what could possibly happen in flight if you're going to have a successful journey. I talked to a pilot one time and he told me that planes are off course 85% of the time. They're always course corrected. And that's exactly what happens in life when we are in flight moving towards a destination. We have to constantly understand that we have to course correct because we never know the ups and downs that are going to occur in life. When I was working on my doctorate, my nephew, who lived in Bermuda, was diagnosed with cancer, and they flew him to the Cancer Centers of America in Chicago. I was working on my dissertation, but I packed up and I flew to Chicago so that I could be with him while he was in the hospital hotel. In order for me to be successful and to stay in flight, I had to put in a schedule where I could take care of him, take care of myself, and write on my dissertation at the same time. In the mornings, I got up early. I did my prayer and devotion. I got him to breakfast and to his treatment, and then I sat and I wrote for several hours. I'd go pick him up for lunch. I'd get him back to his treatment, and then I would go outside and I'd make sure I got in my 10,000 steps for the day. I would come back, check on him, sit down, and write some more. I never stopped working on my dissertation, even though I was away from home, even though I was caring for someone else. When we are in flight, we can continue moving towards our destination. We just have to make sure we always understand to maneuver and manipulate around anything that might come our way. And I also want to make sure we understand that sometimes, right when we're in that place to take off, everything's in place, a ground hold comes up. Sometimes a plane will have to stay on the tarmac because a condition is in place and that plane would not have a successful takeoff. It might be the weather. When I was in preparation to take my trip to Africa, I had everything in place. I was ready to take off, and then a condition showed up that I did not expect. I got an anonymous email from Zimbabwe saying to me that the conditions in Zimbabwe were not safe. And so I had to stall that trip and do a ground hold. For 2 years, I was in a ground hold. And I was telling people, I'm moving to Africa. I'm moving to Africa. Well, after about a year, they started looking at me like, okay, she's not really going. She's just saying that. My job had even given me a leave of absence. One day my boss asked me, are you one of those people that just gonna like say they're going on leave and never leave? And I was like, no, I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Africa. Because I knew that that destination I had in my mind, I was going to reach. And sure enough, another opportunity came into my face, and I was able to take off and fly to Ghana. Didn't go to Zimbabwe. I ended up living in Ghana for a year. So do not be discouraged if everything is in place and you are like, I'm ready to take off, and you get put in a ground hold. And the same thing is when you're in flight. If something shows up, just maneuver around it. And if you have to like pull back for a little bit, you can pull back. When planes are in the air, remember that pilot said they are off course 85% of the time. They are always course correct. And in life, if we want to be successful, we have to remember to always course correct. So today, in the flight plan for life, we went through step 4 and step 5. Make sure that you have enough momentum behind you to take off safely. And if you have to wait on that momentum, it's okay. Step 5, in flight. Before you get in flight though, sometimes you might have to have a ground hold. Do you need to like chill out for a minute on the tarmac? Once you get in flight, maneuver and manipulate around anything that might come into your space. The thing is, do not stop. Do not get discouraged. It just may be a temporary ground hold. Thank you for being with me today. Remember, please send this video out to others, like my channel, purchase my new book, The Uncrowned Queen Reclaims Her Throne When a Black Woman Breaks the Silence. In that book, you will see me doing takeoff and landings and ground holds. Be sure to pick up the journal so that you can appreciate yourself every day. I want to leave you with this. Many of us are saying, I'm too busy to do this. And what I say to you is change that wording. Instead of saying, I'm too busy, tell the truth. I don't want to take the time to do something for me. Because when we say, I'm too busy, that's what we're actually saying. If someone that you love came running up to you and required your immediate attention, you would stop whatever you were doing and give it to them. Well, I'm saying today, run up to yourself because we are requiring immediate attention, my sisters. We do have the time. It's are we going to make the choice to take the time? And we all need to create flight plans for life so that we can move from where we are to where we want to be. Success is ours. We just need to make the decision to get there. And I'll see you next week for step 6 and step 7 in the flight plan for life. Blessings.